Харе Кришна, Om Agyanat Timirandasya, Gena Gena Shalakaya, Chakshur Unmilitamina, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobistam, Stapita Miena Bhutale, Swamrapaka Damahyam, Tedatisa Padantikam, Vandeham Shiguru Jyota Padakamalam, Shigurun Vashnivam Ширупам съграждам Сагна Рагунатан Витам Тамса Дживам. Съдвайтел Савдутам Париджина Сахитам Кришна Чистяня Девам. Ширада Кришна Падан Сагна Олита Шивишакан Витамча. Хе Кришна Каруна Синду, Дина Банду Джагат Пате. Гупеша Копика Канта, Рада Канта Намостуте. Тапта Канчана Горанге. Раде Вриндаванешвари, Вриша Панусуте Деви. Pranamami Hari Priye. Oh, sorry, Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi. I think it was like this. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishapanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Because the body of Shrimati Radhika, it has golden complexion. That's why she's Gaurangi. Okay, so I will continue with the reading of the wonderful books from the two very high personalities, Gaudiya-Darshana from Sri Prema Prayojan Prabhu and the Gayatri book from Sri Sachinandana Swami. Before that, I will try to think a little bit the Pranamatra of His Divine Grace Abhayacharna Ravrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, of his Diksha Guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. Actually, this book is translation in English of a lecture from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada, the Diksha Guru of His Divine Grace Abhayacharna Ravrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Then Panchatattva mantra. Radha Madhava, the song from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. He's the father of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada. And then a little bit Maha Mantra, and then I will try to read again from these wonderful books. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vaskatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopi Janavallabha, Jaya Girivaradhari, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yashodanandana, Jaya Braja Janaranjana, Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Now I will read from the Gaudiya-Darshana, from where I was the last time. So I have reached the paragraph various darshanas prevalent in India. This is from the okay the from the first chapter Gaudiya-Darshana. So there was a paragraph darshana. Oh, I don't know. Maybe yes, there was a chapter darshana, and now chapter various darshanas prevalent in India. From ancient times in India, six darshanas are famous. The Vaisheshika Darshana of Kannada, Gautama's Nyaya Darshana, Kapila's Sankhya Darshana, Patanjali's Yoga Darshana, Jaimini's Purva Mimamsa, and the Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta Darshana of Sri Vedavyasa. In addition to these, in the middle period there was the Nashtikya Darshana of Charvaka, Nakula's Pashupat Darshana, Raseshvara Darshana, Arhat Darshana, also known as Jaina Darshana, and Saugata Darshana, also known as Bauddha Darshana, and another 10 philosophical trains of thought. One can acquire basic knowledge of all these opinions from the text of Sayana Madhava. Srila Vyasadeva has accepted Apta Vaikya Shabda or the Shruti as the Mula Pramana or root of all evidence. By accepting direct perception and logical inference as assistance to the Apta Vaikya, Srila Vyasadeva has refuted all the other philosophical opinions. In this way, after reconciling all the conclusions of the Vedas, he has composed one grantha called Brahma Sutra, which is the exclusive embodiment of the essence of the Vedas headlines, the Upanishads. May the ultimate purpose of the Upanishads be realized sequentially in the vision of the material spectators. Prakrita Drashta. Deliberating in this way, Srila Vyasadeva has written the Brahma Sutra. This Brahma Sutra has become famous by names such as Uttara Mimamsa, Shariraka Sutra, or Vedanta Darshana. All Indian systems of Vedic Dharma are constructed more or less on the basis of Vedanta Darshana. We can see innumerable commentators who have presented explanations on this Shariraka Mimamsa. Among them, the ancient commentators such as Baudayana, Tanka, Bauruchi, and Dramida are particularly acclaimed. Many persons are respected as acharyas of Vedanta after presenting their commentaries, such as the Chariraka Bhasya composed by Sri Shankaracharya. Scholars such as Yadavacharya, Prabhakara, and Bhaskara Bhatta have also propagated texts instructing various divergent interpretations of Vedanta. In the Sampradaya following Sri Sankaracharya, we find that the writings, such as those of Anandagiri and Sayana Madhava and the Bhamati Tika of Vachaspati Mishra, aim to support the theory of Kevaladvaita absolute monism. Several centuries earlier, many profoundly intelligent acharyas who were absorbed in devotional service to Bhagavan had appeared in this world to create faith on the basis of Brahma Sutra or Uttara Mimamsa, in opposition to the opinion of Kevaladvaita, which is based on faith in an impersonal, indifferentiated reality. They aim to propagate the conception of Brahma as a personal being with distinct characteristics. They alone were the preachers and protectors of the personal Savishesha Brahma Darshana. They were not only Kanda Darshanika, philosophers with a fragmental vision, rather, they were imbued with the Sambandha Jnana and they were expert in Siddhanta, scriptural, scriptural conclusions. Therefore, they were not averse to the darshana of Abhideya, the process, and the prayojana, goal, related to the abiding true substance, Vastava Satya Vastu. Prominent philosophical thinkers such as Sri Shankara had refuted the Gaudiya-Darshana, the vision of material differences. Still, because they established the Jivatma as being the Drashta, the seer, the Bhokta or Vishaya, the enjoying subject, and the Jagat as the Drishya, seen, Bhogya, enjoyed, and Ashraya, object. They are situated very far from the wonderfully variegated loving pastimes Vichitra Vilasa of the Parama Satya, the supreme truth. The capability of behold this wonderful variety of pastimes of the Parama Satya is included only in Vaishnava Darshana. And the next paragraph is Vaishnava Darshana. I will continue next time. Now I will read from the Gayatri book of Sachinandana Swami. So here I had reached the foreword by Krishna Kshetra Swami. In 1968, Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, awarded Brahmana initiation to a few of his Western disciples at their recently opened Boston Radha Krishna Temple. Over the remaining 9 years of his life, Prabhupada would give the mantras of Brahmana initiation, including the Brahma Gayatri and other mantras he had received from his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura Prabhupada, to many more disciples worldwide. These spiritual aspirants had shown themselves committed to the regimen of daily devotional practice and avoidance of the unfavorable habits. Prabhupada, His Divine Grace Abhacharna Vrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada had defined. To give Brahman initiation was a big step, one not without risk to Prabhupada's reputation among his god brothers and other Vaishnavas in India. Willing to take that risk, Prabhupada saw it as the logical and necessary move towards making Krishna consciousness a reality beyond the shores of India among people who had not been born into Brahmana families. Brahmana initiated devotees could begin to learn and practice the process of archana, formal worship of Krishna in his murti, sacred image consecrated according to standard Pancharatrika procedures. As in thousands of Indian temples, with Brahmana initiation, devotees could pursue the finer aspects of Krishna Bhakti practice and thus deepen their devotion. They would also be able to become increasingly qualified as priests and teachers in Krishna's temples for the growing congregation of Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis worldwide. As Prabhupada's initiated disciples cross the threshold of middle age into old age, and as new generations of Vaishnavas come forth, all feel the need of better comprehend his legacy. If Vaishnava culture is to take root in the West and carry on indefinitely, surely individual practitioners need to have a thorough understanding of their adopted tradition in all its nuanced details so that they can imbibe, imbibe it in their personal lives and devotional practice. This book joins an expanding literature of recent years that aims to fill this need. In particular, what Srila Prabhupada often called Brahmanical culture, a way of life centered on the simple living and high thinking, taught in Vedic um, teachings, will surely be nurtured by His Holiness Achinandana Swami's present work. The Gayatri book provides a wealth of knowledge culled from a range of authoritative Vaishnava sources, much as the Hari Bhakti Vilasa of Gopala Bhatta and Sanatana Goswamis, itself a prominent resource for this work, draws on numerous authoritative sources as a compendium of Vaishnava understanding on the mantras here treated. It serves to unpack both the meanings of the mantras and the means for realizing those meanings. Yet the book is more than a loose compendium. Those who know Sachinanda Swami personally will recognize the imprint of his expertise and concern as a teacher. The Gayatri book is both a practical manual and a carefully woven explication, thoughtfully structured as an unfolding, blossoming flower, revealing one after another the layers of significance to this important aspect of Brahmana practice. Surely all devotees who read this book, whether already initiated into the chanting of the Gayatri mantras or aspiring to become so, will win understanding that will facilitate their own becoming better practitioners of devotional service. It can then be hoped, as I am hoping, that more devotees of Lord Krishna will eagerly take up, along with the activities of personal practice and mission propagation, the practices of temple worship and the teaching of Brahmana culture. Krishna Kshetra Swami. The next is a preface from His Holiness Sachinandana Swami. Preface. Why this book? Why this book? A simple answer might be because it is needed. A more elaborate answer points at my own fascination and struggle with the subject. Let me explain. Throughout the years of my spiritual practice, I have felt a deep yearning gradually arising in my heart to understand and apply the teachings of our glorious Sampradaya. Once, sitting next to a god brother, while both of us were chanting our Diksha mantras, I noticed that he needed much more time to finish his Gayatri than I did. He also seemed to relish his practice to a degree I had neither seen nor myself felt. Being determined to discover his secret, I took him aside after he had finally come to an end of his mantras, and he mercifully told me many details about the Gayatri mantras. This information had simply been unknown to me before this conversation. But this incident awoke my eagerness to research this field. For a long time I collected quotes and various other material about Gayatri, and gradually the world of the divine mantras began to reveal a few of its secrets to me. I also noticed, however, that the more I learned, the more obliged I felt to seriously apply the knowledge I had gained. I must admit that I was forced to learn to concentrate on my mantras the hard way by the path of mistake and correction. A time came in my life when my intense traveling schedule left me negligent toward chanting Gayatri at the proper times and places or with the proper pronunciation and meditation. Finally, one evening when I sat to meditate on the mantras, my mind overcome with distraction, I realized sadly that the mantras had left me. Although I had always dutifully, dutifully chanted them, I had done so without affection or taste, and they were simply gone. Yes, they were gone. In their place, I was left with the empty shells of the mantras. I felt like a hungry man holding empty nutshells while watching others enjoy fresh nuts. Reform was inevitable. I studied my notes, prayed intensely, collected more material, practiced more sincerely, and finally the mantras returned hesitatingly at first, like a person who has been hurt, who watches from a distance before daring to approach daring an approach. Eventually, they came closer. I am still a bad chanter. Much in my practice can be improved, but at least I am confident that these wonderful mantras contain everything, and that they will reveal more and more in due course of time. With great humility, I pray that my readers will find important jewels in this book. I also pray that those who have received the mantras can be saved from the same difficult experience I had to suffer. Some practical advice. This book is filled with information. You may find it difficult, therefore, to read the book straight through. I would suggest that after you have read one or two chapters, you revisit those parts of the book that attract your attention. To assist you in this, the appendix of this third edition contains an additional list of questions for each chapter that will help you identify some of the main points of the chapter. I also suggest that you don't try to apply everything at once. Rather, look for what is practical and helpful for your present stage and work toward applying that. Better yet, ask someone who knows you and whom you trust to advise you for help in applying the principles taught in this book. In this book. Last but not the least, I wish to say that it would be audacious of me to claim authorship of this book. At best, I am a faithful collector of divine information. May the kind readers derive pleasure and inspiration from this work, and bless me from their hearts. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat Sachinandana Swami, September 2014. Introduction. The need for a guide. Imagine you are on pilgrimage. You enter a remote forest and discover a large and beautiful temple. It is old but well preserved. It seems uninhabited. No one appears to be worshipping here anymore. No one appears to be worshipping here anymore, and you feel free to enter the building and walk around at your ease. Soon you find yourself absorbed by the complexity of halls, doorways, attractively furnished rooms, flights of stairs, beautifully arranged garden groves, and other amazing and sometimes bewildering details. After some time, you feel that your initial curiosity has been satisfied. Slightly exhausted, you sit down to rest. As you look around, you see more and more detail. Your mind again becomes captivated by the urge to explore. So many new and unknown things are waiting to be discovered. Excited, you jump to your feet and continue your investigation. But somehow you feel insecure, bewildered, confronted as you are by an overwhelming variety of impressions. You begin to feel the need for an expert guide, someone well versed in the history of this ancient place, who can introduce you to the stories of the former deities and their worshippers, someone who can explain the architecture, artwork, and meaning and use of the various rooms. Only then will you feel you know something about this place. A similar experience, a similar experience may occur on pilgrimage to the sacred realm of the Gayatri mantras. What in the beginning, after having received your mantra diksha, appears to be just another aspect of your sadhana, develops into a complex subject as soon as you sincerely dive into a deeper understanding of Gayatri. The scriptures provide so many explanations, and thus there are many aspects of it to consider, and so many fine details to discover, that you can only make sense of it by accepting the help of an expert guide. To illustrate this point, let us look at the sacred syllable Om, the beginning of the Brahma Gayatri mantra. From Bhagavad Gita, we learn that Om is non different from Brahman, and that by chanting it, one can attain the spiritual world. So there is a footnote here. Footnote. I will look at it just a moment. Ah, yes, 4, this Bhagavad Gita 8:13. Okay. And as Krishna later explains, Om has to be chanted at the beginning of each performance of sacrifice, charity, and penance in order to attain the supreme. Again, a footnote. I mean, footnote. Oh, just a moment. 5. Yes, this is also Bhagavad Gita 17:24. Yet on the highest level, Om, as a combination of the letters A, U, M. Om represents Krishna, Radharani, and the Jiva soul. But that is not all. We hear that the sacred, sacred syllable Om includes all the Vedas. Moreover, the Upanishads explain that the whole creation has emanated from Om. How can we understand all this without help? All we have seen is a sign that looks like, yes, how it is written. There is in the book it's shown. Yes, I'll show you just a moment. Like this. You know how it is written. It is a little bit like something like you all know how one reads the um I think you all know this uh, this is something like the number 30 or um or the letter O and letter M. If you write them, the O in the on the right side and the M on the left side, and the M is 90 degrees 90 degrees um, turned, um, or like the number 30 or the numbers 3 and 0. So something like this is the sign of um. Yes, okay. So sorry for this trial to say something. I cannot say anything on these two books. Sorry that I stopped to read. Now I continue. A knower of the Sanskrit language will recognize this sign as a combination of the letter A, the letter U, the letter M. But knowing this, can we gain deeper realization simply by reading the sign or hearing or chanting? Um, Most of us might perceive a feeling of spiritual elevation by doing so, but only rare souls will recognize all the implicit secrets without help. Hence, just by the first syllable of the Brahma Gayatri mantra, um, we get an idea of how much is waiting to be discovered in these mantras. Just as a banyan seed contains a huge tree that can bring forth many more seeds, these mantras contain a wealth of information that can bring forth deep realizations from the chapter. Sorry, from the chanter. Yes. Just as a banyan seed contains a huge tree that can bring forth many more seeds, these mantras contain a wealth of information that can bring forth deep realizations from the chanter. In order to understand the Gayatri mantras, we would do well to accept the guidance of Srila Prabhupada, of His Divine Grace Abhai Vrinda, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and our acharyas, carefully following in their footsteps. Then we will not get lost. This book offers guidance along the path. Of course, it cannot replace our bona fide spiritual master, whom we may approach with further questions and for specific guidance. With such guidance, we will surely be able to enter the wonderful temple of the Gayatri mantras, understanding its various rooms, and derive great benefit from our enhanced understanding. We will be able to enter this temple 3 times daily and come out mentally and spiritually nourished, enlightened in Krishna consciousness. So, uh, the next, um, the first chapter is what is Gayatri? Some definitions of Gayatri. The ways to define Gayatri are as manifold as the angels from which angles as the angles from which one can look at these mantras. The following explanations are helpful for developing an understanding according to our tradition. Gayatri delivers one from material existence. The word Gayatri is derived from Gaya, singing, and Tra, protecting or delivering. Based on this etymological meaning, Srila Prabhupada quoted the following verse to explain the meaning of Gayatri. Gayantam trayate yasmat Gayatri tvat tata smrita. One who chants the Gayatri mantras is gradually delivered from the material clutches. In other words, that which delivers us from material entanglement is called Gayatri. So there is again a footnote. Just a moment, let us see where it is. So you have to see where's the end of the chapter. Ah, no. Just a moment, I have to see where's the end of chapter 1 in order to see this footnote. Just a moment. Yes, these are the footnotes. Just a moment. Not footnotes, just notes. Okay, so Читамрita Madhya Lila 8, 138, purport, quoted from Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura's Shri Mantrartha Deepika. Okay. In other words, since the mantra being chanted Gayantam protects one Trayate, it is called Gayatri. In other words, since the mantra being chanted Gayantam protects one Trayate, it is called Gayatri. Gayatri is Krishna himself. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna identifies the Gayatri mantra as a sound vibration identical with himself. Gayatri Chandasam Aham. Of poetry, I am the Gayatri. So, note 3. Just a moment, where's the notes? So, I again lost the notes. So, here are the notes. Just a moment. Note 2. I have to want to see note 2 from chapter 1. So, just a moment. This is a citation from Bhagavad Gita 10:35. Srila Prabhupada states in his purport to this verse, because the Gayatri mantra is especially meant for God realization, it represents the Supreme Lord. This mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people, and when one attains success in chanting it, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. The Gayatri mantra is very important in Vedic civilization. The Gayatri mantra is very important in the Vedic civilization and is considered to be the sound incarnation of Brahman. Brahma is its initiator, and it is passed down from him to disciplic succession. Gayatri is meant to worship Krishna. There are several Gayatri mantras given in our Gaudiya Sampradaya to qualified disciples. All of them worship Sri Krishna in his various aspects. The Brahma Gayatri worships Lord Krishna as the one who enthuses the life of his devotees. The Guru Gayatri, by which we worship the spiritual master, can be seen as indirect worship of Krishna. Sakshat Daritvanasa Master Shastrai. All scriptures see the spiritual master as non-different from Krishna. Again a note. And this is from Sri Gurvastaka, Shloka 7. Yes. Shri Guru is Sevaka Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, in his form as a servant. The Gaura Gayatri worships Lord Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. who is addressed in this mantra by the name Vishvambara, the maintainer of the world. The Gopala Gayatri worships Lord Krishna in his three aspects as Madana Mohana. Govinda and Gopinatha, the presiding deities of the processes of Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. So the Gopala Gayatri worships Lord Krishna in his three aspects as Madana Mohana, Govinda and Gopinatha, the presiding deities of the processes of Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana. The Kama Gayatri worships the Lord as the transcendental Cupid, who invites all the conditioned souls into his loving pastimes. Another more confidential understanding, which will be revealed later, sees Shrimati Radharani being worshipped especially in the Kama Gayatri and the Brahma Gayatri. Gayatri as the mother of the Vedas. The Brahma Samhita describes Gayatri as Trayi Murti Mai, the mother of the Vedas. Again, note 4. This is from Brahma Samhita 5:27. Later we will hear how Gayatri has been manifested from the transcendental sound vibration of Krishna's flute, and how Lord Brahma has received complete Vedic knowledge from these mantras. Just as the holy name is non different from Krishna, his flute song, Gayatri, is identical with the Lord. Thus, all Vedic knowledge effortlessly emanates by means of the Gayatri mantras from the Lord. The effect of chanting Gayatri. Liberation and real life. As cited above, Gayatri liberates us from material life. Gayantam Trayate Yasmat Gayatri Tvam Tata Smrita. For the conditioned soul, tightly bound by the powerful material energy, there is no greater relief than liberation. The material energy is foreign environment for the soul. And just as a prisoner feels relieved to be allowed to leave the foreign environment of prison and return to his familiar life, so the soul feels relieved when freed. So the soul feels relieved when freed from the external land of matter. The idea that liberation is the greatest achievement possible, however, is seen only from the negative viewpoint. It is a prisoner's perspective. Liberation delivers us from material suffering, but offers nothing more. It is an impersonal conception because it will ultimately lead to a complete negation of variety, activity, and even individuality. Where then is the real life? When you look at liberation from a Vaishnava's perspective, a positive picture arises, uh, emerges. A positive picture emerges. When you look at the liberation from a Vaishnava's perspective, a positive picture emerges. The Srimad Bhagavatam defines mukti as muktir hitva nyatarupam sarupena vyavastitihi. To be situated in one's constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Krishna. And note number 5. Bhagavad, so such a, I don't know what book is that. Only Bhage, it is Bhagavad Gita, but Bhag, I must see what book is that. So, yes, for a Vaishnava, liberation is much more than the mere negation of material existence. It means becoming engaged in Krishna's transcendental loving service. It gives real life, real activities, and true exchanges between real persons. Such a person will be so positively engaged in his new life that he will instantly forget the dark, desperate prison cell of his former conditional life. Srila Prabhupada describes it in the following words. This transcendental devotional service of the Lord is so wonderful that the occupation keeps the deserving devotee always wrapped in psychological activities without deviation from the absolute touch. Thus, love of Godhead developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. So I have to see. Chaitanya Bhagavata, maybe I don't know exactly. Some book which is shortly described as Bhag Point 2935. I must see what book is that. So Bhagavata Purana. No, Chaitanya Bhagavat maybe. Maybe Chaitanya Bhagavat is this. This is what is meant when we speak about a positive life of liberation. Far from being a mere cessation of material life, such positive liberation means entering into a loving relationship with Krishna. Once in a mood of great urgency, Srila Prabhupada said, His Divine Grace Bhaichar Ravrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said, that is real necessity. Govinda Virahename, Govinda necessity. The necessity is Govinda, and he is not alone. There is again life. There is again Vrindavana, again gopis, again dancing, again eating, again everything that is real necessity. This is from a conversation during a morning walk in a morning walk in Honolulu, 28th of May, 1976. To summarize, if we define Gayatri as that which liberates from material life, we implicitly speak of the Vaishnava concept of liberation, namely entering the unalloyed, purely transcendental loving service for Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. I will continue the next time reading the book. This is the first chapter. Yes, so there are more effects which Maharaj describes further. Yes, okay, so we see now we heard uh, we heard we had just heard now that actually Gayatri means this mantra who gives liberation, and chanting which gives liberation, but the liberation is the actually not liberation from impersonal point of view, but liberation as entering in devotional service of Shrimati Radhika and Shri Krishna, devotional service of their lordships, devotional service of the Lord. So that is mean with the liberation in the word Gayatri. Yes, so it was explained here. Yes, very nice. Nice. Two very wonderful books. The um, the Gayatri book from His Holiness Sachinandana Swami and the Gaudiya-Darshana from Sri Prema Prayojana Prabhu. Now I would like to continue to read also the conversation between Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and and um, um, Srila Ramananda Raya, which I had begun. This is in chapter 8 of Madhya Lila in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishnadas Kaviraj Swami, the translation in English from year 1975 of His Divine Grace Abhayacharya Vrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Next verse is 846.
Hey Jani Katina More Shudita Sarvabama Kahilena
tomare milite. Translation. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya knew this would happen. And thus to rectify my heart, which is very hard, he asked me to meet you. Who's talking actually? I think uh, Ramnandara is talking to Switchtime Hapro. Yes. Okay. Ramnandara is talking. Srila Ramnandara is talking to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The next verse, Madalila 8:47.
Hey Mata Dulce Stuti Caredo Haraguna Dohedo Haradarasha
Anandita Mahana. Translation. In this way, each of them praised the qualities of the other, and both of them were pleased to see each other. The next verse, Madhulila 8:48.
Hinakala Vaidika Heka Vaishnava Brahmana Dandava
Karikala Rapureni Mantra. Translation. At this time, a Brahmana Vaishnava following the Vedic principles came and offered obeisances. He fell flat before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and invited him for lunch. Next verse, Madhya Lila 8:49.
Nimantrahana Manila
Tandre Vaishnava Janiya
Ramananda Hekar
Prabhu Ishat Hasiya. Translation. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the invitation, knowing the Brahmana to be a devotee, and slightly smiling, he spoke as follows to Ramananda Raya. But before we hear what he said to Ramananda Raya, uh, I will read the purport of His Divine Grace by Charnaravrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the invitation of the Vaishnava Brahmana. Even though one is a Brahmana, strictly following all the rules and regulations of Brahmanical culture, if he is not a devotee, a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one should not accept his invitation. At the present moment, people have become so degraded that they do not even follow the Vedic principles, to say nothing of Vaishnava principles. They eat anything and everything, whatever they like, and therefore the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should be very cautious about accepting invitations. So, what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to um, Ramananda Raya.
तुम्हारा मुख कृष्ण कथा सुनीते हाय मन पुनरपि पाहिये तुम्हारा दर्शन.
I wish to hear from you about Lord Krishna. Indeed, my mind is inclined to desire this. Therefore, I wish to see you again. Next verse, next two verses, Madhya Lila 8, 51 and 52.
Raya kaha hai lilaya de pamara sudita darshana matra shuddha nahe mora dushta chitte Dina pancha satarahi karaha marjana tapesudahaya mora ei dustamana.
Translation. Ramananda Raya replied, My Lord, although you have come to correct me, a fallen soul, my mind is not yet purified. Simply by seeing you, please stay for 5 or 7 days and kindly cleanse my polluted mind. After that much time, my mind will certainly be pure. Next verse, Madhya 8:53.
Yadyapi vicheda
Don't harasanaka nayaya
tatapi
dandavatkahi chalila ramagaya chalila ramaraya. Although neither could tolerate separation from the other, Ramananda Raya nonetheless offered his obeisances to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and departed. Next verse 8:54. Madhya Lila 8:54.
Prapuya sevi pra karaviksha kaila
Duijanara utkantaya ashisanda haila. Translation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the house of the Brahmana who had invited him and took his lunch there. When the evening of the day arrived, both Ramananda Raya and the Lord were eager to meet each other again. Next verse. Madhya 8:55.
Prapusnana kritya kari Achinavasya के भृत्याः सङ्गिराय मिलिलासिया.
Translation. After finishing his evening bath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down and waited for Ramanandaraya to come. Then Ramanandaraya, accompanied by one servant, came to meet him. Purport. A Vaishnava who is supposed to be advanced in spiritual understanding, be he a householder or a sannyasi, must bath 3 times a day: morning, noon, and evening. When one is engaged in the service of the deity, he must especially follow the principles of the Padma Purana and take regular baths. He should also, after bathing, decorate his body with the 12 tilakas. You know, all of you who are Vaishnavas, you know, um, the we put tilaka on the body. Um, we begin here, yes, you all know, um, with the Om Keshava Namaha. Uh, we see again, we say always Om. Yes, before every mantra. Yes, Om Keshava Namaha, Om Narayana Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Vishnuvaya Namaha, Om Matsu Namaha, Om Trivikramaya Namaha, Om Vamanaya Namaha, Om Shiraya Namaha, Om Hrishikeshaya Namaha, Om Padmanabhaya Namaha, Om Damodara Namaha, and we finish here with the Om Vasudevaya Namaha. So in various places of the body we put tilaka. Yes, you all know this. Uh, you all who are you all know this. You who are Vaishnavas. Okay, so I will continue with the next verse the next time, or maybe I can read also the next one. Oh, oh yes. Okay, I will read also the next one. So this is Madhya Lila 8:56.
Namaskara Kalaraya Rapugala Alingane Duijane Krishna Kata Kayara Hastane.
Translation. Ramanandaraya approached Lord Sri Chaitanya and offered his respectful obeisances, and the Lord embraced him. Then they began to discuss Krishna in a secluded place. The word Raha Stane, in a secluded place, is very significant. Talks about Krishna and his pastimes, especially his pastimes in Vrindavana and his dealings with the gopis, are all very confidential. They are not subject matter for public discussion, because those who have no understanding of the transcendental nature of Krishna's pastimes always commit great offenses, thinking Krishna to be an ordinary human being and the gopis ordinary girls, following the principle of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who never discussed the dealings between Krishna and the gopis publicly. Devotees of Krishna consciousness movement are enjoined not to discuss the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavana in public. For the general public, Sankirtana is the most effective method to awaken Krishna consciousness. If possible, one should discuss the principles enunciated in the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed this principle very strictly and discussed the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita with the learned scholars like Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati. However, he taught the principles of the Bhakti cult to students like Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, and he discussed with Sri Ramananda Raya the topmost devotional dealings between Krishna and the gopis. For the general populace, the performed Sankirtana, he performed Sankirtana very vigorously. We must also follow these principles in preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. So, you see how Srila Prabhupada is explaining very nicely every time when we hear or read Prabhupada's His Divine Grace, Prabhupada's purports. So His Divine Grace Abhayacharana Ravrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he is of course very elevated personality. In his spiritual body, he is also a gopi, a manjari. And actually, Srila Ramananda Raya, he is also a gopi. I'm not sure, maybe he's Vishaka actually. So in this way, we see how um, actually in the meeting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the Ramananda Raya, actually it is like Krishna is meeting Vishaka, and then they begin to remember the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis because they are themselves these personalities in Vraja Lila. That's why they have so much love for each other and are very eager to discuss the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavana. And and as we all know, if one begins just to talk about the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis in Vrindavana, um, it is not very easy to talk on that subject because it is so far away from our reality. It is so far away from the reality of our life here on the Earth planet now. So we cannot um, really understand these relationships um, between Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavana. We are so far away from Krishna and the gopis. We live in a total different. Our reality is total different. So it's very difficult for us to understand those pastimes. And if it is difficult to understand them, how can we then explain to others um, about the pastimes of Krishna with the gopis in Vrindavan? Uh, we cannot explain this because we don't understand it ourselves. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has given in Shri Shikshastaka description of the love of the gopis to Krishna. In every verse of Shri Shikshastaka is expressed the love of a gopi to Krishna, the love of a pure devotee to Krishna. And the topmost pure devotees are the gopis of Vrindavan. And the topmost pure devotee among between among all the from all the devotees which exist in all the worlds, the topmost devotee is Shrimati Radhika. She is the highest devotee. And the next level devotees are the gopis of Vrindavana. So on the first place in the heart of Krishna is Shrimati Radhika. After that, the other gopis, of Vrindavana. And after that are many devotees also. There are different types of devotees, and some of them are very elevated devotees, of course. And but such personalities like His Divine Grace Abhacharna Ravrinda, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in their spiritual form, they are themselves actually manjaris, very small, um, beautiful, and loving servants and friends of Shrimati Radhika. But these manjaris, they are younger than the gopis. They are smaller girls, actually. And that's why they can help to arrange all the preparations for the pastimes between Shrimati Radhika and Krishna, because they're small girls. So they are there and they are helping to arrange the pastimes between Shrimati Radhika and Shri Krishna, but they are small girls, so this way they can even more um, be associated with Shrimati Radhika and Shri Krishna, because the other gopis, which are uh, in the age of Shrimati Radhika, like Lolita and Vishaka, for example, they are maybe at some moments they will be maybe a little bit confused, uh, or they will be not confused, but they will be scared to confuse Shrimati Radhika and Shri Krishna if they are always there in every moment of the arranging of the pastimes. But the small Manjaris, the small girls, they are even more close actually in the service of Shrimati Radhika and Shri Krishna than the gopis uh, who are in the age of Radha, of Shrimati Radhika. So and His Divine Grace Abhai Charanavrinda Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in his spiritual form, he is a Manjari. Also, uh, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's also a Manjari, and also in his spiritual form, he is Manjari, Kamala Manjari. This is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's Kamala Manjari, and there are many other personalities very elevated personalities, which also in their spiritual forms they are manjaris. So in this way we see how there are many pure devotees which actually love the Lord Krishna. And the feelings of those very elevated devotees, of those pure devotees of the Lord who cry in separation from Krishna, their feelings are expressed in every verse of Shri Shri Shikshastaka. Um, so this Shri Shri Shikshastaka in this way uh, helps us to a little bit maybe begin to understand the love of the pure devotees to Krishna, and also on the first place is love, the love of Srimati Radhika to Shri Krishna, Madnakya Mahabhav or Unata Ujvala Rasa, or there are also other names of the love of Srimati Radhika to Shri Krishna. Madnakya Mahabhav is one of the names who describes the highest love in all the worlds, the love of Srimati Radhika to Shri Krishna. And this love is also there in every verse of Sri Shri Shikshastaka because it shows the love of a pure devotee to Sri Krishna. Because Srimati Radhika is the highest devotee among all the devotees which exist. Because she is on the first place in the heart of Krishna. Krishna loves Srimati Radhika more than everybody else. And and this this is stated actually in uh, verse 10 of Sri Upadeshamrita of Srila Rupa Goswami. Yes, so in this way, from Sri Shikshastaka, we can a little bit try to understand how beautiful are actually these relationships between Srimati Radhika and Shri Krishna and the love of the gopis to the love of the pure devotees to Shri Krishna, to Krishna. For example, let us take verse 5. No, let us take verse 8 that expresses maybe even more than every other verse the love of the gopis, the love of Srimati Radhika to Shri Krishna, and the love of the gopis also, the other gopis also. This is not the same. I mean, the highest love is the love of Srimati Radhika. She loves Krishna more than everybody else, with the highest love, Matanakya Mahabhav. But also the other pure devotees, they also love Krishna, and also their feelings are expressed in Shri Shikshastaka. So, verse 8. Ashlishava padartam pinashtamam adarshna brahmatnam kurotva. Yatata tava vidatato lampato matprananatas tusevna praha. Shishava padartam pinashtamam adarshna brahmatnam kurotva. Yatata tava vidatato lampato matprananatas tusevna praha. Oh Lord, you can make me the most happiest person if you embrace me, or you can make me the most unhappiest one if I don't have, if I if you are not present before me. Adarshna Mahtam Krutva. Adarshna Mahtam Krutva. If I don't have your darshan, if I don't have your, I, if I, if you are not, if I cannot see you, if you're not before me, if you're, yes, yatata um, yatata vidatat lampato. But Lord, you can do whatever you want actually. Matprananatastusa eva naparaha. You are the Lord of my prana, the Lord of my living heirs, and you will always remain my only Lord. Matprananatastusa eva naparaha. So, um, and what I wanted to say also, what it was, I every time try to citate from Shastaka because it's so beautiful and because I don't want to forget it. I have learned it by heart and I want to not forget it, so have to repeat every time some verse of Shri Shastaka which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have spoken in the 16th century. Now I will try to sing a song which glorifies the Lord also, but in order not every time to sing always the same, let's now um, sing and hear another song about the Lord, and this is the song about Lord Ramachandra. And then I will sing again the song Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
The incarnation of righteousness, Lord Ramachandra, appeared in Ayodhya, a son of King Dasharatha. On Ramanavami the devotees glorify Lord Rama by chanting his holy names and hearing from Ramayana. In Bangalore the deities of Shri Shri Krishna Balarama are nicely decorated as Rama and Lakshmana, the beautiful Lord chiefs. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Chandra are lovingly ornamented as Sita and Rama. Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Lakshman Hanuman, Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Lakshman, Jai Hanuman, Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Jai Lakshman, Jai Hanuman, Jai Sitaram, Jai Sitaram, Jai Lakshman, Jai Hanuman, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Now again a trial to glorify Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with the song Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Krishna
came from above to make us happy, to give us love. Lord Krishna came from above to make us happy, to give us love. Krishna lives in everyone's heart. Krishna sings in everyone's life. Krishna lives in everyone's heart. Krishna sings in everyone's life. In Krishna's own heart, Radha is singing out of love, out of love, out of love, His most beloved. In Krishna's own heart, Radha is singing out of love, out of love, out of love, His most beloved. Hear the holy name is dancing. Oh, we joyful on your tongue. See Radha and Krishna living in your heart forever, Lord. Hear the holy name is dancing. Oh, we joyful on your tongue. See Radha and Krishna living in your heart forever, Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Krishna came from above to make us happy, to give us love. Lord Krishna came from above to make us happy, to give us love. Krishna lives in everyone's heart. Krishna sings in everyone's life. Krishna lives in everyone's heart. Krishna sings in everyone's life. In Krishna's own heart, Radha is singing out of love, out of love, out of love, His most beloved. Here the holy name is dancing. Oh, we joyful on your tongue. See Radha and Krishna living in your heart forever, Lord. Here the holy name is dancing. Oh, we joyful on your tongue. See Radha and Krishna living in your heart forever, Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Now I will just sing the pranam, the mm, Shri Nrsimha Stuti, the glorification of Lord Nrsimha. I will read the translation. I offer pranama unto Nrsimha Bhagavan, who gives joy to Prahlad Maharaj, and whose nails are like chisels on the stone-like chest of the demon Hiranyakashipu. Nrsimhadeva is here and also there. Wherever I go, Nrsimhadeva is there. He is in the heart and is outside as well. I surrender unto Nrsimhadeva, the origin of everything and the supreme refuge. This is from Nrsimha Purana. Upon the beautiful lotuses of your hands, your nails, with their amazing tips, have torn us asunder the wasp-like body of Hiranyakashipu, O Keshava, who assumed the form of a man-lion. All glories to you, O Lord of the universe, O Hari. This is from Sri Gita Govinda. No, this is from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8. No. Oh, sorry. Now I don't. Just a moment. From where is this? Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. I sorry. I have put it somewhere. I have to find it again. Oh my God. Nrsimhadev. Where is the song? Sorry. Just a moment. I'll find it now. Just a moment. Let's see where it was. Stop. What happened? I lost the song. I don't understand what happened. Why did it happen? Ah, yes. Here it is. Just a moment. Sorry. Now it is. Okay. So, this was from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8.5. No, this Srimad is here and also there. This thing was from Sri Gita Govinda, the Shavatar Stotram 4. And the next one, all glories to Nrsimhadev, all glories to Lord of Sri Prahlada, who is like a honeybee always hovering about the lotus-like face of Sri Lakshmi Devi. This is from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8-5. Shri Simha Jan Simha Jaya Jan Simha Dev Prahladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. Okay, so the others I will not sing. There are also other mantras here about Nrsimhadev, but I will not sing the others, just these three.
Namaste Narasihaya Prahlada Hiranyakashipu Akshaya Shilatankanaka Iton Rishiya Paraton Rishiya Yato Yato Yamitaton Rishiya Rishiya Hridaya Rishiya Rishiya Sharanya Prabhupada Namaste Narasimhaya Praladaladaina Hiranyakashipu Rakshaya Shilatanka Nakalaya Iton Rishiho Paraton Rishiho Yato 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 Nrishimha Nrishimha Hridaya Nrishimha Nrishimha Madhisharanya Prabhupada Tavakara Kamalavara Nakama Pudashrinka Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tano Bringa Keshavadrita Nargari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare 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 Shri Nrsimha Jan Nrsimha Jaya Jan Nrsimha Dev Prahladesha Jaya Bhakta Mukha Padma Vrihi Shri Nrsimha Jan Nrsimha Jaya Jan Nrsimha Dev Prahladesha Jaya Bhakta Mukha Padma Bringa Shri Nrsimha Jan Nrsimha Jaya Jan Nrsimha Dev Prahladesha Jaya Bhakta Mukha Padma Bringa Shri Nrsimha Jan Nrsimha Jaya Jan Nrsimha Dev Prahladesha Jaya Bhakta Mukha Padma Vrihi Jaya Nrsimha Dev Jaya Nrsimha Dev Jaya Nrsimha Dev Jaya Nrsimha Dev Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Prahlad Nrsimha Jaya Lakshmi Nrsimha Lakshmi Nrsimha Lakshmi Nrsimha Jaya Lakshmi Nrsimha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Sri Sri Gaurita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Gopinath Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Gokulananda Radhe Shyam Shri Radha Jaya Radha Shyam Radha Gokulananda Radha Madhava Radha Gopinath Radha Govinda Radha Gopinath Radha Madhava Shri Radha Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru Maharaj, Jai Guru Dev, Jai Guru Maharaj. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much for your attention. As you all know, I'm not qualified on such topics like Vedic literature, so if I say something on Vedic literature, then I'm not trying to instruct anybody. I'm just only trying to understand these topics. Of course, one have to try to understand the Vedic literature and the Vedic poetry and the commentaries on Vedic literature and Vedic poetry under the guidance of teachers, under the guidance of Diksha Guru and Shiksha Gurus. All of you who are Vaishnavas, who are devotees in Raganuga Bhakti, and especially those who are in Rupanuga Bhakti, you are all my Shiksha Gurus. I offer my respectful obeisances to you. Dandavat Pranam. Vanchakapatrupischa Kripasnupevcha Patitnam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much for your attention. Hare Krishna.